to the second part of my live coding, where I try to prevent users from deleting an entity that other entities depend on. So we ended up here. When I click on the delete, it's checked on the backend and I get back the list of dependencies. Maybe actually I could improve what we see here if I go to root. No, it's here right now, of course. So but this is not really the way I want it. I want to display something better than IDs, and I want to show that in a pop-up. And while I was on break, I also discovered that some things are simpler than I made them here. So here I manually add the link to the data we get back from the mutation, which I don't need to manually because, of course, Fulcro has us covered. So, and I can show you it's in here, targeting return values from mutation. So we can essentially do this. No, sorry, we just have a sync target. Let's do that. So what we want to do is this path field. So it's just this one. Right, and if there is nothing, then nothing should be put there. So this we can comment out, and let's see if it works. Let's reset the application. Input. Handler body. I think that's just. Oh yeah, we have been here before. So let's reset. Delete. No, it did not work. So where did it end up? Oh yeah, so something is wrong here. We stored them, but it's in vector as right. So instead of single thing, we have multiple things here. So that's the only difference. But if we go to DB Explorer, that should still work, right? I can still come here. It's just the way how we process in the UI. So if I go to the root, then I should do only I should actually, you know what? I should have done the targeting differently. That's the problem. I should not use append to place at. So if reset. Okay, I don't get an error anymore, but I don't see the data either. So what do we have now? Depth 4, ID, that's ident. I can go here. So that looks fine. So I screwed up something else. Not sure what. Let's see, do I have element input? Connect the whole root. Right. The props we get is the vector of map. Okay, it's still vector. I didn't expect that. Not sure why the case. I need to check the docs later. But then this should work. I go back here. Yeah, there's to be here. Must be one of them. So I think replacement should be fine. Yep. Let me worry about that later. Let's just get something working. Right. So now we have data again. And regarding how to display that, I was looking into how red picture does display form inside a pop-up. But it's unnecessarily complicated because the picker doesn't really have access to it's inside the framework, right? It doesn't have access to the framework, to the application itself. But here, this is my application, and I control the root, so I can just display things myself in root as I do now. So I don't need to overcomplicate it with some hooks and such. So what I can do instead, I can just click right. So I don't need to bother with this. I just want to make the model. Let's write it from scratch. In this case, it will be a stateless component. It just passes through props to its child and wraps it in the model. Let's see, I can actually pass in model content props, and inside this, essentially, I just want to display the dependencies list. Right. I should already made some shortcut for doing these things. So inside, we just want to render dependencies list. So I guess that's actually all I really need. And actually later I want to do something like this as well. I can put it in the prop so I don't forget about it, but we don't implement it. Here and instead of this, I should this. Oh yeah, I need still this. Okay, sometimes navigation doesn't need to be wanted. So here we will show the model. And yeah, one thing I forgot. This should actually be computed factor, so we can pass pass through properties. It has no properties of its own, essentially, or no properties fetched from database. It only has computed properties. So this is list props, and here we have one, which will be this. And we don't need the if. I suppose that takes multiple children. Let's suppose yes, it does. Maybe this tree can be removed. Obviously, we have a boundary now. So let's see. Yeah, right. So we see the form underneath, and here we have the content. So what I want to do now is instead of the IDs, I want to display something nicer. So, and I could do some joins to fetch the description of those things. I would need to use some union query, but that's really non-trivial. And I don't really need normalization here. But I don't expect the names of things will change when I'm displaying this list. So instead, I will just modify the backend to give me exactly the data I want. And if that's not up ideal, then I can always change it later. So let's go to our mutation in here. Or actually, I want to fetch data here because here we have the DB and we have the idents. So you can just read it here. So I guess actually I want to do something just tell it. And what I want for each of them, I think they all have a name. If I look at duck name. No, that's the wrong file, of course. Customers have name and orders have name and products name. Awesome. But yeah, not all those names actually are saved in the database. So I actually need to get that from this one is saved, I believe. Yes, but order name is derived from other things. It's computed. Um, that complicates things. Hmm. But right now I actually care mostly about products. No, orders depends on products. So for product I need to display an order. I think they have orders have IDs and Rafael again. They have a human ID and that is also computed. What else do we have? So what can we do? I don't really want to do the join, so I could just do this. No, it's complicated. If you want to do a join, even sure how bottom handles union joins. Okay, let me look into it and get back to you in a short while.
Okay, so the question is, how do we display something nicer than just the idents? And it's a little difficult because how to derive a human-friendly label for each of those entities differs, and they are not always stored in database. So I do want to avoid using union query, as it seems unnecessarily complicated. And I think I have found a good solution. So what I do is that for each entity, I register mapping that says how to derive ident for it. Essentially, take the ID, take the ID and put it into vector. Where is the other ID and the value, right? And I also add an alias resolver saying that the name, because each of my entities has name, is the same as label. And notice ident and label are not namespace keywords. So what I can do now is that given that I have a list of idents in my data, uh, I can then request a join for each step set, say I want to have ident and label. And when I run it, you see that I do get just that. I get ident for an order with label, I get ident for customer with label, and so on. So then in my mutation, where are you? I don't know this here. Let's see data. I don't really need the parser anymore. In my mutation, I can just return the data as it is with dependents. But in my, I want to change this. I want to add the join that we saw. So if I go here, I want to say that for each dependence, and I don't need to have this normalized, so I just put the query here again directly. I want to have the ident, I want to have the label, right? And it's just on-site change. So now hopefully let's reset the application. If I try to delete this thing, let's see what I got in the data. Show this, let's use the Explorer, we can navigate it nicely. Here, and dependence is, it's just the order ID. Let's see what transaction we send over the network. Save, delete. We are saying that for each dependent we want ident and label, which is exactly what I wanted to. So why is it not working? So I'm saying it is return dependencies list. That should be fine. And I know that the mutation does return dependent, so I expect Python to be able to map that nicely. Let's see if there's any hint into logs, what's going on. Mutation request, try to see that here. Sys ID, dependent. So some assumption is wrong. What's coming in is as I expected. The data coming out is kind of what I would expect as well. It's just not mapped. But my query seems to be correct, right? So if we suppose this, if we go to parser, yeah, let's say response. No query. I want the query mutation. I want just the inner part of it. That should be the equivalent of what I have here, right? Then the data I'm getting back is quite similar, and we can make it more. It's just very trimmed out, and we can make it more similar to data actually are. Oh yeah, I see. So that's a problem that in Fulcro we use idents, which are vectors, but Python really expects maps, and if we give it a vector, it doesn't understand that. So what I need to do is to go to my mutation and dependence, or yeah, I will do it here. Something like this. So I will turn each of the vectors into small maps. Might actually stop this also for this is on the server side, so let's reload. And let me see if I go here and set to query to bother reloading. No, that did not do it. That will die. Second, oh. Okay, so there's something wrong. Ah, yeah, I see. Because I had a single vector, but into expects a list of things. And I get back. Wow, I get back the ident and the label. Wonderful. Sweet works. So now let's try the whole UI thing. I delete. And I don't have it in the UI the way I expect, but I guess I haven't updated yet. What we do here, dependencies for, and dependents are its map, right? It's a vector of maps. And it says ident, it has label. I did not expect target entity to be that. Start something here. Oh yeah. Okay. There's some yeah, I guess before we got a vector, now we don't have a vector, we have a single thing. Maybe because I did not reset when I changed from append to replace add, I did not reset the application, so I already had vector. I was just replacing something inside vector might be. So if I go to yeah, it felt wrong to this. Let's see, it is better. It is. I need to do something about this, or I can do that later. So here I have the ident and I have the label. So let's use that. Not here and this one. So like way. And the ID I don't really need, so I want to just display the label. But uh, still need string because it's UID, so it's object. It's not string. So regular complaint. So that should be much nicer. We did something on there. Yeah, I cannot destructure it inside. Yes. And actually, I might want to do something like, let's see, there's a label here. I want to have my thought. I want to have emails. Yeah, we can think of better ways how to do that later. But I would have it could be order, it could be product, it could be customer, it could be anything. And actually, I want to name to get it from the backend based on actually attributes or something, I guess. But I don't need to, or maybe not, because if I know that it's thing I do for of I do use. I have this attributes. Attribute. Yeah, which no. Yes, I can just do it right away. Right. So let's do that. Let's give it a string for the time being. And I have add. I just like to use get for these essentially dictionary lookups. I did transfer full attribute, and then it has what could I have labeled? So if I go there, it's order, right? And in this case, it's the makes sense to manipulate it here. No, that's just does not work. Mm, right. Yeah, I don't want the print string anymore. This is not actually ideal yet because it may happen it actually doesn't have label defined and then I don't get anything. So we can just steal what forms do. Uh, let's see. Yeah, there is. It feels a little dirty, but yeah. So it looks at the form instance, which we don't care about. It looks at the field label of the attribute or the AO label. And finally, yeah, so essentially we want just this part, right? So I guess the cleanest solution actually is to copy that instead of calling for a label, which would be much of a hack. And for now, I just need it here, so I will just stick it here and think about where to place it later. And this thing, if you don't know it, if the value it gets is a function, then it will invoke that function. Otherwise, it just returns the value as is. It comes from like sure it makes sense to allow it as a label as a function, but AO label is something used by read attributes normally, and it can be functions. So it could happen to us as well that it is a function. So better to handle that. And I have an attribute, so I get ID from should not really happen that we don't have it. Right, so here we have, yeah, that's not exactly what we want. We want to have the code I had originally, ID prop namespace, right? Let's see, it's still working. Come on. Yes, it's still in order. And now we can also actually use it. Yeah, we have only the ID, but the ID contains ident, right? So it's actually this round, it's not ID, it's ident. I have been lying to her. I should fix it. It's really important to be consistent. I want to go with mutation. Or no, right, I use ID because that's what we get in Fulcro DB. It's common to use ID. Yeah, so that's what I got. The second of no first. Actually, oops. So I want series. I want the strat rate into it actually makes sense. Okay. K is a primary key, and then ID the actual ID value. I do something wrong. I use I guess. Oh yeah, entity label. It could actually be no, that's string. That's guaranteed to be string. Yeah, that's UUID, which is not a string. And I need to, yeah, I need to fix the resetting of the error boundary. It's described in the Fulcro book. I just haven't typed it yet. At least we can try. We can try the whole flow. Try to delete an entity and target entity product with an ID. Wonderful. So I'm almost done for this recording. I just want to show that I could also do something about those entities, right? So I will me see how did we render that as product forms. This trash thingy. Ah, okay, it's I would need to look into row actions, how they turn this into actually trash icon. I don't want to bother with that right now. So here I put and he will be nicely recursed here. We have this, we do have this, and I'll use it. Uh, so I will do my and copy it. Yeah, of course it's a car. I do. Right. Yeah. And alt compile. CLJ conda is very useful, but sometimes I have to explain like more to it. So I might also want to add a button here. Actually, two buttons. This is just semantic UI. Have nice looking buttons, and this would be might be getting some of the classics wrong, but this. So here, if I might just cancel, and so that I don't have any mutation yet. So, or I might want to right, and then I would have some. I could actually do the original delete. Let me right. And add some option like I don't know if you can hear me because my headphones have disconnected, but hopefully you can. Shirt, another shirt. Oh yeah, I get. Yeah, anyway, uh, you get what I want to do, and here I would use the. I would get passed in some mutation to invoke cancel. So yeah, that will be all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.